Good afternoon, everyone. So, today is the concluding class for the Ethereum blockchain network. So, today we'll be talking about some key potential areas like where Ethereum as a use case can benefit that particular area. So, there are certain areas, if you can see here, that we have identified where Ethereum based solution can be considered as a good fit. So we know what a blockchain is, how data is stored on a blockchain, and depending upon the characteristics or properties of the blockchain, we can identify areas where blockchain based solutions can be a good fit. So if we talk about a transaction processing system, so if I say that there is a transaction processing system like Visa or Mastercards, all of them are transaction processing system. So Visa or Mastercard can process around 72,000 or 7,200 transactions per second. Number is somewhere around that. Okay, so they can process thousands of transactions per second. Now blockchain was developed in order to remove any kind of intermediary, any banking, any authorization from between. So, what the reason for having the Bitcoin digital currency was that there should be no intermediary, there should be no bank. Transactions should happen on a peer to peer basis. That is, if we have a user A, he should be able to directly transfer some amount to user B. So what Bitcoin wanted to do was it wanted to become a transaction processing system using which you can make payments, buy things. But did Bitcoin become like, could Bitcoin replace any of the mainstream transaction processing systems? No, it cannot. Now, transaction processing systems could be like your UPI payments, your internet banking, your credit cards, your debit cards. All of these are transaction processing systems. So all of them process thousands of transactions per second. Now, even though all of the transactions go through bank, any questions, anyone? Somebody raised their hand. Okay. So we are saying that the mainstream transaction processing systems include, say, your UPI payments, your net banking, your credit cards, your debit cards. Then there are different kind of wallets that are used. HDFC has its own wallet, and then there is Paytm. All sorts of different kind of payment systems, gateways, etc. Now, Bitcoin emerged as a response to the banks present as an intermediary to facilitate transactions. So the goal of Bitcoin was that instead of having a bank or a third party in between two users who are transacting, the users should be allowed to transfer money on a peer-to-peer basis. That is, if I have some money, I should be allowed to send it to someone. But even though the idea was to like become a transaction processing system, a digital currency, and also a transaction processing system using which you can make payments, you can buy things, but it did not actually happen. Now I'm telling you from my own experience, nobody knew that Bitcoin was going to become so big. So back in 2014, I had 5 Bitcoins. I went on a holiday in Thailand and I spent 2 Bitcoins on pizza. Okay. At that point in time, Bitcoin did not have any value. It was, I think, $50 around that time, or $25 maybe. But now 2 Bitcoin is something in crores. Okay. But even then, I could process my transaction then because Bitcoin wasn't that popular. Transactions could go through in a very small amount of time. But now, if I want to buy pizza using Bitcoin, I cannot do it. Like I can do it, but then the transactions to be processed, to be like to go through, to be added to the block, that is not feasible. So Bitcoin can become a transaction processing system, but it cannot beat the mainstream transaction processing systems that we have, which is net banking. So because it is not processing like larger number of transactions, if Visa, Mastercard, net banking can process thousands or hundreds of thousands of transactions, Bitcoin is not able to do that. So in order to identify a use case for a blockchain, we need to first identify the areas, like should we apply blockchain based solution to this area or not? And whether or not by applying a blockchain based solution to an area, would it like improve the area? Would it make a difference or not? So now, even though Bitcoin is a like peer-to-peer digital cash system, it cannot replace any mainstream system. So that is one thing we need to keep in mind when we are developing solutions that are based on the blockchain technology, whether that area will benefit out of uh, the blockchain technology or it will not. Okay. So here are some of the use cases that have been identified where Ethereum based solutions would be a good fit. So if you look at this figure here, we are talking about certain areas where if we make use of Ethereum, we may be able to improve the system, improve the current system. So these are some of the areas where Ethereum or the blockchain based solution can be considered a good candidate. You can use it in insurance, you can use it in trade finance, you can use it in securities, derivatives, record keeping, then you can use it in healthcare systems, you could use it in legal systems, loan and mortgage, in supply chain, digital identity. So we'll look at each of these one by one, like whether or not should we use Ethereum for a certain area to improve that area or to uh, implement a blockchain based system for that area. Like the example of transferring money from one account to another, if you're using it, if you're doing it using Ethereum, then it makes sense because Ethereum has a larger transaction processing capability than Bitcoin. If it is not happening in real time, now when you're using the mainstream methods of net banking or cards and all, the transaction processing is happening in real time, but here you have to wait for say 10 minutes or 7 minutes for your transactions to be added to the blockchain, and that is the best case scenario for a block to be added to the blockchain. It may happen that your transaction, because it has a lower fee, may never be picked up to be included as part of the block. So Bitcoin as a payment processing system doesn't make sense, but Ethereum as a payment processing system can make sense if the transaction processing capability is improved a bit further. So these are some of the use cases which Ethereum has and that can be implemented by making use of the smart contract facility that Ethereum provides. So we'll take up each one of these one by one. We'll identify some of the use cases that can have a bigger impact, and then we'll discuss them. So one is trade finance. Now, why we are saying that trade finance is one of the biggest or the few like a key future potential point is because we are talking about decentralized finance. Now, imagine that you want a payment to be done in some other country. Now, when you're doing some cross geographical payments, there are border related issues. The payments may need to take like 2 or 3 days to process. But with blockchain, you can transfer your amount in real time. Not exactly in real time, but you do not have an intermediary that is processing your transaction. Okay. So these are the list of use cases that we have. We have decentralized finance, we have digital identity, we have tokenizing real world assets, we have health applications that we had seen previously here for recording clinical trials, for maintaining data regarding the terminal disease research. Then we have payments, we have privacy from third parties, and we also have initial coin offerings. Now, in stock exchanges, there is IPO. But here, what is when you want to create your own currency, you can say that you can raise money for creating your own currency by providing a initial coin offering, that is to like draw money to develop your own blockchain platform. You can make your blockchain platform. So suppose you want to create a new blockchain that is going to be implemented on Ethereum. So what you can do is you can develop a white paper, that is, this is the blockchain, this is the functionality, that is my blockchain is going to be like, this is the kind of functionality my blockchain will provide. And then you can release that idea as a coin. Okay. So if your blockchain can be released as a coin and people will invest in your idea and you can draw money to develop your own blockchain system. So this is what initial coin offerings are. So first we'll talk about the decentralized finance over here, which is known as the DeFi. So decentralized finance means, now this is one of the most promising real world use case of Ethereum, where you can decentralize the financial applications, and because of this reason it has been abbreviated as DeFi. So what this means is, using this decentralized finance, you can like, how do you do it? You make use of smart contracts to execute your loans. You can make use of smart contracts for implementing decentralized exchanges. And there are certain, like if you want to know about a real world use case, there is something known as Maker DAO, which has been implemented using Ethereum smart contracts, and it allows you to create your own coins. So if you're talking about the use case of Ethereum, you're saying that the first use case is DeFi, which stands for decentralized financial applications. So DeFi is implemented using smart contracts. So what you can do is you can build your own blockchain on top of Ethereum. So if this Ethereum is your base platform, you can build a blockchain on top of Ethereum, implement your own smart contract, and that will allow you to develop an application that can either, you can say, you process loans. It could also allow you to make payments. Uh, it could allow you to some other decentralized financial application. You're processing loan, you're making payments, you're transferring money. You're transferring money, and some smart contracts can also be developed to like execute when certain conditions are met. So we know all about this. That is, using smart contracts, you can develop applications that can be used for some real world scenario. So decentralized finance can be thought of as programmable money. So this DeFi is also sometimes known as programmable money. The reason for calling it programmable money is because first, it is electronic money. Second, it is like you are using it because something has been programmed to transfer money to you. So Bitcoin in many ways was the first DeFi application. Bitcoin lets you really own and control value, own and control Bitcoin, send it anywhere around the world. and you can also send it to a large number of people who you don't trust, but still you agree on a ledger of accounts, which allows you to transfer money to one another. So Bitcoin is open to anyone, it has no authority, and it works on the principle of the blockchain technology. So this is something which is known as the decentralized finance. This is not like traditional finance where government can print money and companies shut down and you lose your money. That does not happen here. This is a decentralized finance. And for this reason, we are calling it programmable money because you can program logic to make payments. You can program logic to like control the amount of money that gets transferred, the security, and the you can say the services that your smart contracts provide that can be controlled. So with the help of smart contracts, you can control your cryptocurrency, like lending money, borrowing money, scheduling payments, investing in index funds, things like that. So this is one of the very important use cases of Ethereum, or you can say smart contracts, that using smart contracts, you can program your cryptocurrencies, you can program your transactions to be executed as soon as certain conditions are met. So, what is the difference between the decentralized finance and the traditional finance? So, with decentralized finance, you can send money to anybody around the globe. You can receive money. You can also access, like, you can receive money, convert it into some other currency also. You can start trading in tokens. You can use it to fund your idea. You can buy insurance. You can execute payments. All these kinds of things you can do with decentralized finance. So as a blockchain, Ethereum is designed for sending transactions in a secure flow. Like Bitcoin, Ethereum like makes it sending money become very, very easy. We have already seen how easy it is. You just enter the amount, enter the gas value, sign your transactions, and your transactions get executed. You just have to use your account address from your wallet, and your payment will go directly to them within minutes. Usually within minutes, sometimes it may take more time, but usually it goes in minutes. And we have a wallet which using which we can send payments, receive payments, like that. And you can also send money anywhere around. So previously, some companies in Sweden, they started paying their employees in Ether. Okay. So they used Ethereum smart contract to pay salary to the employees, and Sweden has such a strong network of like Ethereum blockchain that they can really use that money whenever they need it. So Ether is already being used to like give salaries to employees. So these are some of the important like advantages of having a decentralized finance. Again, an advantage is that your currency, Ethereum, is a stable currency. Cryptocurrency has volatility problems, but DeFi community has solved this with using the stable coins. That is, their value does not fluctuate that much. It fluctuates like popular currencies like dollars, yen, all those euro. So that is the amount of variation that will happen, and it also decreases the volatility that exists in certain cryptocurrencies. So this DeFi is the first use case of Ethereum. Okay. Next is creating a digital identity. Okay. So now the way we identify ourselves is using either an Aadhaar card, PAN card. We still use passports that are made of paper. We still need to carry them around everywhere we go. And one of the main reasons why we have not shifted to a digital system yet is because it is hard for governments to check the authenticity of an online document. Now, if I say that, now the reason for that is, now a digital document is very easy to forge. Okay, a digital document can is very easy to forge, and there is no way to check the authenticity of an online documents. Now we do have digilockers where you can store your Aadhaar, your PAN, and all that kind of documents. But that also is a centralized repository. It comes with its own disadvantages, that government has your information, there is no privacy on all of that. But if you're storing your data on a blockchain system, first of all, the data has first been verified, then it has been added. So you can create a digital identity which is based on a blockchain based system, Ethereum based system. So Ethereum enables the verification of data in an open and transparent way. And it means that it could also be used to it can be used to like pioneer the creation of a digital identification system. So using Ethereum, you could develop a decentralized application which is a digital identification system, and you can use it to create a digital identity for a user that is decentralized in nature. So there is a Ethereum blockchain based company called Civic, which is already working on it to create digital identity using the Ethereum smart contracts and the Ethereum blockchain. So this here is the second use case, that is you can create a digital identity using the Ethereum blockchain network. Next, we'll talk about tokenizing real world assets. We'll talk about tokenizing real world asset means. So what this means is that now in Ethereum we have Ether, which is like you can say it is a cryptocurrency which powers your Ethereum blockchain. But with Ethereum, you can tokenize many other real world assets. You can use Ethereum to like create stocks. You can use it for trading precious metals in real estate and all these kinds of things. By tokenizing these assets on Ethereum, you can issue, like you can make an issue to that asset, you can transfer the asset, you can transact in them much easier than you are doing it on paper. So what we are doing is, instead of using a decentralized, like a centralized entity for trading in stocks or transferring property from one person to another or buying some precious metal, you can develop a decentralized Ethereum based application where digital world tokens are being transferred from one person to another, and all of that data is getting stored on our blockchain network, which is Ethereum in this case. So it can be used for tokenizing the real world assets. So this is one another use case of Ethereum. Then we have health applications, which is a very big use case for Ethereum. So as far as the research goes, it says that Ethereum can bring a revolution in the healthcare system. Now, there are privacy related issues whether a patient wants to share their personal information or not. But all hospitals around the world can store, access, share their patient's record. And this will help in like accelerating the research related to very like advanced illnesses and all of that. So this can also be a key factor in developing new vaccines for viral outbreak. If we are sharing that information, if the information is available in a decentralized manner and access to that information is available in a decentralized manner, oftentimes like what happens is that you are able to, like you can develop an application, but you do not have enough data to train your network. So if you're using AI based solutions that work with blockchain, you would still need some data to like train your network, improve your network, all of that. So here, if we can have a repository, a decentralized repository where all the data is available, then this can help, like it can become a key factor in developing new medicines, if they're like new vaccines in case of viral outbreak, or even preventing some disease in the first case. So now what happens is everything is like centralized. You go to a hospital, you will only have record of your like medical history in that hospital. Okay. But if you go to some other hospital, you have to carry your files, you have to have a case history if you are referring to some other doctor. There is no way in which your case could be transferred to some other doctor in the same city also, because the new doctor does not have your case history. You have to like carry your prescriptions, your test results, and all of that to a new doctor. But if you are developing a health application that is dependent on like on based on Ethereum, then you can go to a doctor in some city for checkup, and even if you're on a holiday on some other city, you can like go like you're on a holiday in some other city, you get ill, you see a doctor, both will have the same information about you because it is getting updated on a decentralized network, and all of your information can be present in one place. Even though your information is present in one place, the access is decentralized. And in one place, it means that Ethereum is the place where the information is present, but that one place it is getting replicated across the network, which is why the access to it is decentralized. Now, the current research that is going on is that you are like you are a user and you are wearing a smart wearable. Okay, you are wearing a smart wearable. It could be an Apple Watch or some other smart watches that you have. A user is wearing a smart wearable. Now, this smart wearable can be thought of as a IoT device. Okay, the smart wearable is creating a lot of data about you. Okay, data regarding your heart rate. Okay, then there are watches that also work as oximeters now. Then it could also have data regarding your stress levels. There are watches that can also access your ECG. Okay, so a lot of medical data is accessed using a smart wearable. So if you're wearing a smart wearable, an iWatch or a Samsung, any kind of watches, then the watches are also generating a lot of data relating to your heart rate or oximeter, your heartbeats per second. All of that data is getting recorded. Okay. But what is the use of this data if it cannot be analyzed? So right now what happens is, if you are wearing a smart wearable that is connected to the internet, initially now like in reality now what happens is it goes to the data center. Okay. So server, and that server belongs to the company which is providing you the, so it could be an Apple server, it could be a Samsung server, it could be any kind of server which is providing you with the smart wearable. Now this information is not decentralized, it is centralized, and Apple or Samsung or any other brand that they are using your data. And even though they are using your data, you are not getting any input from them. That okay, how, if all of these parameters are getting recorded, how do I benefit out of it? Okay, if your heart rate is high, it will say your heart rate is high, but how does that data get analyzed? That data is analyzed here only at the watch level itself. The data that goes to the data server, that is not analyzed, and no two-way communication happens. Okay, so now the present research that is happening is that instead of data directly going to the data center, we could have some fog devices that will analyze your data. Because IoT devices generate a huge amount of data. Okay. Every data cannot be stored on the blockchain. All the data that has been generated, it can be analyzed, and then depending on that, it can be stored on a blockchain. Now, this communication can be a two-way communication. That is, we have a blockchain that is storing your information, but that information is getting analyzed. How is it getting analyzed? We could build some programming logic to analyze the information and give user some inputs. So instead of this being just a one-way communication, your data being going to some server, what we can do is we can analyze the data and in turn provide some inputs to the user. That if like all of these inputs are above normal, then it could provide you with some insight as to if this is happening, then how this data could be analyzed. So this is one very hot area with respect to, you can say, blockchain with Ethereum and uh, one second, yes, with blockchain with Ethereum IoT devices and how you can make use of Ethereum in healthcare systems. So this is another area. Okay. Next, we have payments. So we are all familiar with payments that happen on the blockchain. So like our economy is based on transactions. Okay. But on Ethereum, we get an additional advantage, that is instead of just executing transactions, we have smart contracts that can be used to initiate payments, not only like a user wanting to transfer money to some another user. It could be in response to like you have to make your rental payments, you have to execute loans, you have to process loans, then payment because some goods are delivered. All those kinds of payments can be implemented using smart contracts on Ethereum. And this makes it possible to exchange anything of value completely and risk free. So instead of creating the agreements on paper, the transaction is recorded in form of a computer code. So this is the payments part of the blockchain. This is one very important area, and Ethereum is already trying to bring the number of transactions that are being processed to real time so that it can be used as a like a payment processing method, a transaction processing, like a mainstream transaction processing system. So one another important way in which it could happen is that suppose you have a user here, user A, and we have a user B. Now this user B is selling his art on Ethereum blockchain. Okay. So he has like created an application that allows him to sell his like art on Ethereum blockchain. Now what can happen is, imagine we have an escrow account in the middle. Okay. So user A transfers money in the escrow account, and as soon as the payment goes through, as soon as the transfer of money has been received in the escrow account, the art is transferred to user A. How is this art transferred? We are talking about NFTs here, which are the non-fungible tokens that are transferred. We have digital arts that are transferred. Okay. And how is this all happening? That as soon as some money goes into escrow account, the payment, as soon as the payment goes through, the transaction is made. All of this is done using the smart contracts, that, and we know that it is the if then else type of thing, that if the payment goes through, then you send the whatever, is it art, whatever token it is, else you hold the token that you are sending. So this can be implemented using smart contracts. And instead of just selling art, you can sell anything on Ethereum blockchain. And a lot of people are doing it also. If you look through examples, you'll find wide variety of examples where users are using Ethereum to perform transactions for selling their art, for selling their music online. So these are some of the use cases for payments, that is not just to like transfer money from one account to another, but then you can use it for different varieties of payments, for token transfers, for loan execution, for loan processing, all that kind of things. And then the have a very important use case, which is privacy from third parties. Now this is something that everyone knows, that our data is recorded by Google, very like all these big tech giants, they record our data, and that data is used by them to improve their systems. Sometimes it is also sold to like third parties to generate revenues. So almost all of the world's internet users have their data collected by companies. Your personal information is collected by companies and it is sold to advertisers, and most of them make billions of profit every year on in the process. Now Ethereum's blockchain technology could make it impossible, not exactly impossible, but like if you are having a decentralized internet. Now the goal of Ethereum is to have the internet decentralized. There is no one party that is controlling your data. Everything is available to everyone. So every time you do something on, like if your internet is decentralized, logs are made every time you use a search engine, but your data and those logs are publicly available. There is no single authority that is controlling that data. Okay. And because we have pseudo anonymity and anonymity associated with Ethereum, we could also make sure that the data is not analyzed or used by third parties. So if we are implementing like a decentralized internet, then the large corporations will have to be a lot more careful with what they do with our data, if they do not want like users to stop using their brand or their brand image to suffer. And also companies like Dropbox or Microsoft, they store huge amount of data in the server farms. So a server farm is basically a building where hundreds of servers that are present and they are used to store your information. So the problem with server farms is that the company it concentrates a large fraction of this storage capacity on a single location. Almost all of the companies do it, be it Dropbox, be it Microsoft, be it Amazon, Google, all of them have their own server farms where our information is stored. And the disadvantage of having those information stored on server farm is that all the information is concentrated on a single facility, on a single location, and if that gets compromised, there could be like a substantial loss. Or it could also, like if there's some natural disaster or a terrorist attack, then there could be substantial losses and the information could also be lost. So the solution to this is to have a decentralized storage facility. So in this case, what will happen is the information will not be stored uh, on a server farm, but the information will remain decentralized. Now, this is a very far-fetched idea because like there is lot of information that is being generated. How will you analyze which information will get stored, which will not? Because blockchain is a chain of blocks. Okay. If we have millions of blocks on a blockchain, how will you access that information? We will have to have a proper search mechanism that will allow us to access the information, to retrieve the information. So this will be a very big technological challenge to store the data in a decentralized fashion. Now, storing, like building it for a particular application does make sense, but to like develop it, make it a decentralized internet system is still has its like it has its challenges that have to be solved. So privacy from third parties could, like, this is one of the future potentials of Ethereum, how we can have everything on our like that we access on the internet decentralized. That is, instead of companies controlling our data, user should be in control of the data. And the last future potential point here is the initial coin offerings that we have already talked about. So initial coin offering are also known as token sales. So it is a method of funding by which, if you are creating a startup, okay, now say you have an idea, okay, you have an idea and you want to work on that idea or like build a startup of your own. You have an idea, but you want to build a startup of your own. In order to build your startup, you will need the funding. Okay. To build your startup, you will need the funding. So there is this concept known as the ICO here, initial coin offerings, where what you can do is you have your idea, what you can do here is that for your idea, you can create coins. Okay. To fund your idea, you can create coins, you can mine coins on Ethereum. So you're using Ethereum to create coins. Now, what do these coins signify? What they signify is that you will tell that, okay, this is the idea. I want to develop a startup which will solve this problem, but you do not have funds. So this coin is used to represent your idea, and you release your coins, that is the initial coin offering, and people buy your coin. Okay, you can say that one coin is say 0.001 0.001 ether. Okay, so if you're offering ICO and people are buying your coin, it means they are investing in your idea. So suppose, say 100 people or 1,000 people buy your coin. So you will have, if 1,000 people buy your coin and the value of your coin is 0.001 ether, you will have 1 ether with you. Okay. And right now, the value of 1 ether is 3 lakh rupees. Okay. Value of 1 ether is 3 lakh rupees. This is just 1,000 people investing in your coin, which will fund your idea to create the startup. But imagine if hundreds of thousands of people buy that coin, believing in the idea. This is what happened with Ethereum also. Ethereum said that they want to build a decentralized internet. They gave their idea and then they offered their coin. People started buying that coin, and using the funds, Ethereum developed into what we now know Ethereum to be. So you will get the money, and that you can use to start building your idea. And if your idea is good and it goes up, the value of your coin will also go up. People will start buying more coin. Now, if your idea is not a very good idea, then people will start selling your coin and the value will go down. So this is all about the future potential or the use cases where Ethereum could really, like using Ethereum could really benefit that area, which is the decentralized finance, digital identity, tokenizing real world assets, health applications, payments. You can use it for third parties, like privacy from third parties, and initial coin offerings. So we'll stop here. If you have any questions, please do ask. Otherwise, we'll close the class, and from the next class onwards, we'll start with Hyperledger Fabric.